and the signs and symptoms come about. So, and you talked about specific and non-specific signs and symptoms. So can we probably start with the non-specific signs and symptoms?
I prefer starting with the non-specific because that's where it's vague. It's difficult to really tell whether it's mumps or not mumps. So it's during this, what we call a prodromal phase, where the infection is still to incubate, it's building itself, that you actually have what we call the non-specific symptoms. And these non-specific include a fever. And actually in this incubation period, the fever is actually a very low-grade fever. You actually might not even cause you much havoc. You go by your normal activities, you don't feel anything, you just feel a little bit warm, but not a big deal.
All right.
Body aches, muscle pain, a little bit tired than you normally do feel. So it helps, it just makes you feel like your body is not yours. It's also during these moments that you might actually sometimes have a flu-like illness, you know, have a runny nose, very non-specific symptoms. Remember, it's a viral infection, so it also might affect a little bit of more other areas, but in a very small scale way.
All right. Okay. And for the body aches, I sometimes struggle to understand the body ache part, because this is sometimes you just, like we said, you might feel your body's not, you're not okay. You're just not yourself. Okay. So does it get to a point where you really feel pain? Either is it like all of your body or some specific parts?
Now, generally, when you are in the prodromal phase, you can actually feel a full body. You know, it's what you call Hapanakule syndrome, as in you feel the hand today, tomorrow it's the other hand, the other foot. But then when it becomes more stable, or rather the infection is still building itself, you might have some areas that are more affected than others. So actually one of the things that children will complain a bit is a bit of a headache. But generally, most of the children who have a very, now it's, by the time it's becoming a headache, the fevers now have really gone up. No, remember we said that in the initial stages, the fevers would actually just be a low-grade fever, very non-specific symptoms. But then now, as we continue towards the specificity of the illness, and now it starts showing itself. So you'll have now a little bit of a very high fever. And then now they'll complain of headaches because they're very uncomfortable. It's also during that time that you might see the swelling. So now the swelling will happen, and the swelling, if you put your hand like this, that's how you'll commonly swell. So it's swell around the ear, in front of the ear, and a little bit below the ear. And because of this swelling, it's painful because it's a gland that now has been invaded by a virus. So it's actually a painful gland. And then now, because of that pain, it's also difficult. Remember we said that the salivary glands are in front of the ear and a little bit on the lower side near the jaw. So meaning that when they try to chew or swallow something, there's a bit of pain.
All right. And we talked about now when the disease becomes more specific, fever, how high are we talking about?
It can actually get very high, even in the 40s, in the 39s. So a viral infection can also, I know we commonly think the higher the fever, it is definitely a bacterial infection, but actually even viral infections can give you pretty high fevers.
All right. Okay. So, and in terms of the amount of time, like let's say duration of time, we talked about the incubation period being between 2 to 3 weeks, all right? And then now the signs and symptoms kick in, where you can clearly see, you know, the swelling, the high fever. We're talking about, what has the running nose, headaches, you know, and all that. And some might be like, well, any homa, it itaisha too on its own. So should we give it like, let's say, a duration of time before we go ahead and just seek medical help to ascertain whether it's just the common cold or it could be mumps, or as soon as you see, especially for the swelling, go ahead and get checked?
When do you see a doctor with the mumps? I think it's important to see the doctor, especially when the fevers go very high up, because then we would be thinking of mumps, but then remember it's the body, and there could be something else too. So it's always good just to see your doctor and ascertain, could it be mumps or could it be something else? Because these glands can swell due to also other reasons. And mumps is not the only reason that these salivary glands can actually be swollen. So it's important to also go to the doctor to ascertain it's just the glands are swollen, yes, and it's due to mumps and not due to something different. So when they are swollen, it's good to see the doctor. And then when you have very high fevers, it's also important to see the doctor. So these symptoms will last for a while. Like I said, it's a viral infection, we have to allow the body to fight it, and this takes a little bit of a time. So normally we'll actually say about even a week. Yeah, some few people will have 3 days, 4 days of it, and they're good to go. But then a couple of people will actually push to about 7 days, and even a few up to around 10 days. But a majority of them by about a week, the symptoms have started to reduce, and they're good to go back to their normal activities.
All right. Now you talked about it could also affect other areas, and then you also said something just now about the swelling could be because of other reasons, not necessarily mumps. So could we start with other reasons why the salivary glands will just be swollen, just so that people know. And then, once it's, like you said, I mean, a week after and it's still there, then go ahead and seek medical help, just to ascertain that it's mumps and not these other reasons. So what are these other reasons that could cause the swelling?
So these are glands. They produce many things, but the reason why they're there, it's actually for production of saliva. So if they are blocked, there's a duct that actually drains the saliva out of the glands. So if that duct is blocked, then actually they have a backlog and there's an obstruction, and they could actually swell up, and they are pretty painful. Now, there are few medical reasons that would help us differentiate why one and not the other. For example, if it's just, remember I said there are a set of three glands. So if I only feel the swelling only around one gland and all the other glands are fine, then probably start thinking more towards an obstruction than the other, because it would be very unfortunate to have all 6 glands actually blocked. It's not very common. So it's important to just examine such things. Other things is that other infections can also cause the glands to actually swell. Remember we said mumps is just one of the viral infections. There are a couple of many other viral infections that could actually cause the glands to swell. So can also bacterial infections. That can give the swelling on the glands.